My name is Brandon Hurd. I work at People Tech. We're out of Huntsville, Alabama. All the work we do is government work. All right, thanks. We're probably about 800 strong now, about 20-year-old company. Got 15 or so groups. My group specifically, we focus on digital transformation, digital engineering ecosystems. We do have some work we do for the intelligence community. We have customers ranging from Test Resource Management Center, DIA's MISIC, also Aviation Missile Center, Redstone Test Center. So we're all over there in Huntsville. We also have section out in Colorado Springs and El Paso. But all the work we do is container-based work. So we do a lot of building different applications for the government. We have applications that we focus on, like testing aircraft. We have data mesh, digital mesh, if you've heard of that concept. Be sure you come talk to Catherine later. Brought the tech lead with me. She's way more fun to talk to than me. So yeah, we've got lots of different applications that we make. So why aren't we thinking about this now? I guess let me give a little bit of more backstory. So my group, we're about 4 years old. We started with our customer out at Redstone Test Center. They wanted us to come build an application for them, and we ended up moving towards container-based development. Everybody used VMs in the past. Everybody knows all the problems with those. So going down that path, if you asked me 5 years ago, like what was a container or Kubernetes, I probably couldn't have told you. But we've came a long way since then. So what I've found over time, and the reason we're with Chainguard now, is because anybody that's ever gone to Docker Hub and looked at one of those images, they don't even hide it. They tell you how many CVEs are there, and they're no good, right? Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be here. We're all Chainguard fans, right? So going down that path, working for projects that they're in the government space, we have a lot of compliancy standards that we have to meet, and that adds a lot of time into the things you have to do to get the application out into production. So, looking at the supply chain, everybody's aware that that's under attack all the time. I think I've heard a common theme today, from all the other people I've listened to talk, and supply chains came up a lot, and so. We have to move fast. Our customers got a new requirement every single day. It's hard to keep some of these guys under control, but we manage. So one of the things that's helped us is working with Chainguard. And so we look back at sat down and talked about some of the things that were slowing us down, and trying to provide a whole bunch of devs to secure these containers was taking up a whole lot of our time. We tried building our own software factory, and it was fun. We learned a lot, but nobody likes doing that except for Chainguard. You guys love it, right? So that anybody that's ever tried to secure an image, it's not a hard thing to do like one time. Like you can do it, but keeping that thing up to date and secure and deployed onto production in a timely manner, that's not an easy thing to do. So we decided to buy down risk, and that's kind of why we went with Chainguard. Just to talk about some of our applications again real quick. So I've told you about our team, our architecture. Everything's microservices, container-based. We use GitLab very heavily. We're all over the place with open source. I think altogether we're probably using 50 or 60 different open source softwares. So trying to secure all of that was impossible. And then I sat through a brief with the Chainguard team a couple of years ago, and then met Steve and his team about a year ago, and everything's history since then. So we moved forward with Chainguard. Problem, like I said, Docker Hub has been an issue. Like all the images are there, but none of them are secure, and you can't trust where a lot of that stuff's coming from either. Yeah, they put out the Docker hardened images recently, and I messed with it a little bit, but their library is real small, and they're not building stuff from source either the same way Chainguard is. So you can only trust that so much. Lots of pain points that we ran into, larger images, unknown packages, inconsistent SBOMs, audit headaches. When I've got a lot of the stuff that Chainguard provides to us, like the SBOMs and things like that, it starts to establish trust with the cyber component that we have to push everything through. So standardizing on a secure base image, this has been, an issue that we've dealt with where if we've got multiple different development teams and each team is building a different product and it's not really a suite of products in some cases. They all have their own individual use cases. So the devs go out and grab the image from whatever they need. They just want to go fast, right? They don't want any blockers in their way. So wherever they can get the thing the quickest so they can get the product out and meet that impossible timeline that the customer set for you, that's what they're trying to get after. So as an infrastructure guy, my job is to let them keep going as fast as they want, but do that as securely as possible. And so you may have heard the term platform engineering. And so we try to create an environment for our developers where they can, like I said, do what they need to, and we put the bumpers, the guardrails in place, and try to make it so they don't have to worry about all those other things, right? We give them the place where they can pull the images from and all of that, and then we know, like, from the get-go that they're secure. So baking security into the dev workflow, shifting security left, that's something that we've tried to do. That's an ever-evolving thing. I don't think anybody's ever going to perfect that. So just trying to identify the biggest gaps that we can and approach those larger gaps. We've got DevSecOps engineers in place that are trying to solve this problem every day. Policy is code. I harp real hard on our teams about not doing ClickOps. We've leaned very heavily into GitOps, having a desired state in our code and have that synchronize into the Kubernetes clusters, either with Argo or Flux, whatever you prefer. That's proven to be a real good thing for our teams. So if you're not familiar with GitOps, I would definitely say, pull down Argo or something and check it out. So this is migration as a supported program. Think of it like migration as a service. I don't provide it in a formal way, but it's a good way to think about it in that really what we're after here is a gap assessment is really what it is. So just identifying where we're at the time. What are our teams using? What images are they using? What gaps exist? What security vulnerabilities are there? What would it take for us to get them to where we want to be at scale, right? And so I would say, don't go right after maybe your identity provider image or something. Start with something a little less important right off the bat, and then try and work that in, pilot that in, work through, get automation, and then you need to be able to go to scale with that. And this approach has been good for me. Just to support, like I said, support the rollout, be sure you document things. We have times that we try to dedicate to the devs to do this. It seems to be all the time, though. Lots of spike issues we have to deal with, and then treating it like a product and not like a mandate. So just an example, I'm sure there's probably people in the room that know the exact numbers for this. Hopefully they don't call me out, but this is kind of what we have found to be the theme in that, pulling from Docker Hub there's lots of security vulnerabilities there, and then moving to Chainguard, by and large, the experience has been just a drop-in replacement. I've been able to just update the image that we're pulling from, and then it just works, right? And that's what everybody wants. So, some of the things that we ran into, everybody's worried about the trade-off between going fast and staying secure. I don't think it's really a trade-off. Hopefully everybody in here agrees with that you can have both. And that's what we've tried to do. And so working with Chainguard, like I said, it's been a drop-in replacement. I don't feel like it's slowed us down at all, trying to have a security-first approach with everything. Honestly, I think it's made us go a lot faster because when it's time to submit, that ConOps and all of that other security documentation you got to give to the cyber team, it's nice to be able to point to a source like this and build that trust with them. And then it gets to the point where, it's from Chainguard, yeah, we don't have to worry about that. And so that's where we've gotten to with a lot of them. We did find with simple services, maybe a few hours to get migrated over to those. Stuff that's more complex where there's multiple images involved, we have to rework some of the way things are deployed. Maybe the helm chart's a little different. I don't know if everybody's familiar with IAM guarded images and helm charts. I really like those. That's been a huge benefit for us. I like being able to source the helm charts right from Chainguard, along with the image, and then everything just works. For the complex stuff, adding missing build dependencies to the build stage. Sometimes I might have to throw in a init container that'll do something, or use a certain hook for, like after a process runs or something in a helm chart. So just things like that are some of the stuff that, things that we ran into, and I'm happy to go into detail with anybody that would like to talk, after this. Tweaking the runtime and exceptions with the shell tools too, and paths and things like that. So this is just a high-level list of things that work for us, things you can think about while you're trying to migrate to Chainguard images. Inventory, measure your CVE exposure. You definitely want to know where you're at before you get going. Choose a trusted provider. Everybody knows who that is, right? Pilot on non-critical services. Take good documentation. Automate your CI templates, updates, and rolling stuff out. And then offer support channels, migration examples. So I'm probably the worst person at documentation because I'm moving 500 miles an hour trying to do stuff, but I have found I actually save more time by providing our devs good documentation and letting them kind of self-serve on a lot of things. So definitely don't skip over good documentation. Things to think about, for measuring CVE counts in your base images, unapproved images in the environment, times to merge to deploy, and then security exceptions, where they're requested. Key takeaways, standardize on trusted minimal images. Standardization is something that we're still moving towards in our company. We've came a long way in the last couple of years. I've actually got everybody using all Chainguard images now, so that is a good standard. But the way people develop things, there's still room for improvement there. I think anybody could probably say that. Bake in the security into the developer workflows. Don't wait until it's time to go to prod to worry about security. You'll wish you didn't. Treat migration like a supported product. So, as an infrastructure guy, everything that I do is ultimately just help desk work. People have problems. I'm providing resources, trying to provide fixes for their problems. So this is just another thing that's a service that I provide to our dev teams. They're the stars of the show, and definitely want to make sure that they have as few issues as possible with getting things out. So secure your supply chain today. Every day, public images, they're out there, and you're rolling the dice if you're using them. Your customer trusts you, and it's your job to do the right thing for your customer. So set a clear standard today if you're not already.